These days, we get so caught up on what foods we're having too much of, or the ones we're not getting enough of, the drinks we consume often get put in the back seat. It goes without saying that this is a problem as the calories from fizzy drinks, store-bought coffees, and alcohol can accumulate over the course of the day, leading to a substantial portion of your overall calorie intake. Yet, for alcohol in particular, are there other ways that may be worsening the chance for you to reach your ideal body weight that you mightn't be aware of? And if there are, does that mean you should abstain from it altogether? Or might there be a better and more realistic way to go about its use? Well, let's get into it. But first, as always, please take note of a disclaimer. To begin, let's have a look at the calorie content of popular alcoholic drinks to give us more of an idea of what we're dealing with here. A bottle of regular beer has around 153 calories. A glass of red or white wine has around 125 calories. A rum and coke has around 185 calories. And a margarita has around 168 calories. If you'd like to look at the calorie content of other popular drinks, I'll put my resource in the description of this video. Going by these rates, it means that if you have 6 bottles of regular beer once per week, you will intake an extra 918 calories as a result. To give you an idea of how significant that number of calories is when it comes to dieting, we generally aim to reduce our calorie intake to 500 below our maintenance calories each day. To put this another way, having 6 bottles of beer once weekly is pretty much enough to offset optimal dieting from 2 days earlier in the week. And that's just what the impact of having 6 bottles of regular beer once weekly can do to your weight loss ambitions. Never mind drinking more than once per week, drinking more than 6 bottles of beer at a sitting, or drinking even higher calorically dense drinks. Besides this, the calories from alcohol provide virtually no positive effects on satiety, actually quite the opposite, which we'll get into a bit later. Then of course you have to consider that certain drinks require mixers too, from juices or fizzy drinks, only adding to the calorie tally. Another way alcohol directly worsens weight status is from how it's metabolized. Alcohol inhibits fat oxidation, which means it gets in the way of fatty acids being broken down. One example of this effect can be seen in a study by Seiler, Nice and Hellerstein, where they assessed the fat metabolism of 8 healthy men after having a vodka mixed with sugar-free lemonade and then another one 30 minutes afterward. The study's results showed that for several hours following the drinks, the alcoholic drinks reduced the ability for fatty acids to be broken down by almost 3/4. And that was only 2 drinks. Having said all this, it's also important to keep in mind that these are only the direct consequences of alcohol intake on weight loss. Other indirect effects impede weight loss efforts too. The first indirect way alcohol does this is by lowering your inhibitions. Of course, this effect can be positive in certain instances, like if you're an introvert at a party, and alcohol helps you become more sociable than you normally would be. However, the decreased personal restraint that comes with alcohol isn't favourable in dieting, since you'll be more inclined to make impulsive dietary decisions like having more salty, fatty foods and larger portion sizes. In other words, if you're at a party and there is pizza going around, the chances that you reach for them extra slices after a few drinks will be a whole lot higher than they would be otherwise without alcohol. And there's research backing up this too. For example, a review by Yeomans in 2010, investigating whether alcohol was a risk factor for obesity, found that 10 out of the 17 studies examined reported more food consumed with alcohol than without. Another way alcohol impacts weight is how disruptive it is to a decent night's sleep. Now, you may say, but doesn't alcohol have sedative properties? So can't it do the opposite and help sleep? Indeed, alcohol can let you fall asleep faster. However, it shortens REM sleep, the deepest and most important sleep phase. The physiological consequences of the liver enzymes having to metabolize it also result in sleep disturbance. So alcohol reduces the quality of sleep rather than improve it. Another thing to point out is that alcohol consumption tends to lead many to stay up later on the weekends, altering their sleeping pattern and duration negatively for the rest of the week too. Good quality sleep is vital when keeping on top of your weight, as it will let some of your appetite hormones get optimally regulated. It will allow for your brain to function at its best, which is imperative when it comes to making good dietary decisions. It will optimize your energy the following day, meaning more calories used. And simply because longer sleep means fewer opportunities to snack. Accordingly, alcohol definitely doesn't do weight any favours from a sleep standpoint. And then of course we have hangovers. Even if you're only an occasional drinker, you'll know how much these result in less than ideal food choices, to put it mildly. Everyone knows that dehydration from alcohol consumption is one of the main contributors to hangovers. But alcohol metabolism, as we've just spoken about, is also one of the culprits. Oddly enough, there hasn't actually been much research checking the impact of hangovers on dietary choices. Even though a night's drinking will cause electrolyte imbalance, dehydration, and low blood sugar levels the next day, these physiological consequences can influence eating behaviour, as we may be unknowingly inclined to order fast food the next day in an effort to replenish our hydration and blood sugar levels. Also, the salty nature of these meals helps to improve our electrolyte levels simultaneously, although doing it this way is ill-advised. The best study we could find surrounding this was from 2022, where on days when participants said they had higher severity of hangovers, they consumed more crisps, fizzy drinks, and less fruit. Further, hangovers cause fatigue and malaise too, and therefore don't do a lot of people any favours from a physical activity point of view at the same time. On a side note, if you are interested in undertaking our evidence-based and results-backed personalised Plato weight management program, please click the link in the top right hand corner of the video or follow the link in the description. Lastly, beside the bad effects of alcohol on weight in the immediate sense, it's also worth looking at this from a long-term perspective. Interestingly, a national survey taken by 40,000 American adults showed that compared to people who didn't drink, people who did moderately, equating to 4 to 7 drinks weekly for females and 8 to 14 drinks for males in this study, were twice as likely to be physically active. Now, I'm aware that these results may seem contradictory at first, as we just pointed out how hangovers can reduce physical activity for some. But keep in mind that for others, hangovers will bring upon feelings of guilt and incline them to exercise in spite of how wrecked they are to try to overcompensate. Additionally, some will exercise more in the lead up to a drinking session in an effort to bank calories, so to say, so they can drink more and not gain weight, which is definitely not recommended from both a health as well as a weight loss standpoint, by the way. So these may be some explanations for why people who drink more tend to be more physically active. Moreover, because alcohol is generally considered an unhealthy behaviour and physical activity is considered a healthy one, the way both seem to have a positive association with each other may also seem conflicting. Yet the reason for this is said to be, in part, because both release happy hormones, such as dopamine and serotonin. And since both of these behaviours bring about more happy hormones, which are addictive, this can lead many to replace exercise with alcohol over the long term. On the other hand, this is one reason why many seeking to overcome alcohol addiction will frequently be encouraged to exercise. Anyway, in the context of weight management, this means that over the long term, whether over months or even years, you could potentially forego a physically active life to accommodate one with regular drinking, and the subsequent negative dietary impact that comes with that. And to be honest, if you look around for others who met this fate, sadly I'm sure they won't be hard to find. Finally, you might argue, well, if there's a correlation between regular drinking and exercising more, then isn't that a good thing, as maybe it will help me to lose weight? Well, to put this into perspective simply, from an intense exercise bout, you may expect to burn 400 calories commonly. In contrast, going back to our calorie estimates of popular alcoholic drinks, you may intake 153 calories per one regular bottle of beer. This means that only 3 bottles of regular beer are enough to offset the calories burned in an exercise bout. Therefore, you can imagine the damage drinking more than this regularly would do to your weight loss goals. So, overall, alcohol can be disruptive to optimal weight management directly from the calories associated and from the body finding it harder to break down fat. And indirectly from lowered inhibitions, long-term replacement of regular physical activity with drinking, and from the suboptimal activity and dietary choices that arise from hangovers. Then, does that mean we advise you to cut out alcohol altogether when it comes to keeping on top of the weight? Certainly not, as we want to be as realistic as we can when developing long-term sustainable lifestyle changes. But definitely to limit drinking to occasionally and to choose less calorically dense drinks like light beers, sparkling rosé, vodka, soda and lime, or gin and tonic when you do. What are your thoughts on alcohol intake while dieting? Have you any experiences you'd like to share? We'd love to hear from you in the comments section down below. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. So that has been our video. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.